This is Beyond the Margins, where we go deeper into story, creativity, and the courage it takes to speak your truth. Join host Jen Chambers each week for writing inspiration, conversations with creative minds, the yearly 12-week Artist Sway series, or the Write Your Story series, all designed to help you find, shape, and share your voice. Because your story doesn't end on the page, it begins beyond the margins.
Hello and welcome. This is Jen Chambers. I'm your host today on Beyond the Margins. And today's episode is a continuation of our series on the slow season. This is week 5. We're talking about cozy corners. There's something about creating a corner in your home that invites you to linger. It's a space that feels like it belongs to you entirely. In this week's slow season episode, I want to talk about cozy corners, the nooks that we carve out for ourselves during the colder months, or the little spaces where we can slow down, or write, or sip tea, or just breathe. Cozy corners aren't just about furniture, they're about intention. How we set them up, what we put there, how we honor them with our own personal rituals and reflections, and small acts of self-care. The first thing I want to mention is feng shui. I'm certainly not suggesting that you overhaul your whole house this time of year. That would be nuts and not helpful. But as I kind of declutter things while I'm making things for this season, I wanted to integrate more of this into my life. And so I thought I would introduce the concept of feng shui, which I'm sure you've heard of, but give some general guidelines. And then I thought I might show you how I applied them to make my own cozy corner and invite you to bring that energy into your space. I'm definitely not an expert on this. I'm only a huge fan. I've read a lot about it, and I've used it in my home intermittently. It just feels more open, and cleaner isn't exactly the word I'm looking for, but so much more spacious when I do that, when I use the concepts of feng shui. But firstly, feng shui is the Chinese philosophy that, according to an article that I wrote, or that I read on the Spruce, quote, aims to create balance in the home and by proxy create balance in your overall life, unquote. I thought they'd have a better definition. It's interesting. It's one of those concepts that was super huge in the 90s, right? But in application, it's actually very practical. Starting with the entry to your house, the idea is that you keep it tidy and free of clutter and lit well. This is because the entryway to your house is referred to as the mouth of qi, and through which all the energy flows into your home. That all makes total sense. The next idea is keeping your windows clean and cleaning them regularly. According to the practice, this is because the windows are symbolic of the eyes of the adults who live there, and they're symbolic of the voice of the children who live there, which is a fascinating concept. They also ask you to give some thought to your doors, both your front door and the rest of the doors in your home. If the doors are blocked from opening fully, the opportunities to come through them are blocked also. That makes complete sense. And reading more about this is inspiring me to move the pile of old posters and picture frames that keep my bedroom door from opening all the way. Another thing is making sure all your doors work well and open smoothly. And that if you have a doorbell that it works, that's symbolic also. Another interesting idea is the idea of the commanding position in feng shui. This is the concept that how your power spaces in your home are positioned represent your command of your life. So the idea here is to place the important spaces, like your stove, if you can, your desk, and your bed, so that you're able to see the door to the room without being right in front of it. If you do that in your rooms, it's supposed to give you more power. And I like that it gives me more kind of an invisible assurance I guess maybe it's bad because I can see the exits, but I always like to know the exits at all times. I guess that's trauma talking, but I think it's really interesting. And I wonder how that coincides. There are a lot of great resources on the practice of feng shui, and I've looked at it in tons of different ways. And really, it can be a lifetime's work if you're serious about it, even. I'd recommend there's a book called Good Feng Shui, a step-by-step guide to creating balance and harmony in your home. That's a good beginner's guide, and I'll have that linked on my Substack as well as on my Instagram, so you can see it and learn more from an expert. But I love to introduce those ideas. Before we dive into creating cozy corners for ourselves, let's take just a moment to remember to breathe. Inhale deeply, imagining the warmth of a fire or the soft glow of a lamp filling your chest. Exhale slowly. Release any tension from your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. Notice if there's any tension in other parts of you, and just breathe into it for a minute. Now that you're still and calm, picture your ideal cozy corner. Is it a window seat with cushions? A nook with a small table and a candle? Let your imagination wander. Notice the textures, the light, the smells. We don't all have the luxury of building what we want from the ground up, but we can certainly take elements from what we have and make it more of what feels like us. Is there a tiny corner of your house that you can convert into an idea of an area like this for you? As you let your mind kind of go to places that could be, really inhabit the space as you imagine it. I actually have a couple different areas like this in my house. And there are a few things that are necessary for me to have a cozy corner. I need a comfy chair to read in, and a table to set my teacup or my coffee cup, and somewhere to stash my knitting or crocheting, whatever project I'm working on, my project bag, and good light because I'm sort of blind. A blanket is optional, but so lovely to have, and I love warm blankets. They just make me feel amazing. I was at Costco the other day and they have heated throw blankets, which sounds amazing. I might have to invest in one of those for my cozy corner, because something about being warm just makes you feel so much better about everything. So using the ideas of feng shui, you can bring comfort into your area also by using the less clutter concept. Have a shelf for things. Use colors that match the energy you want in that space. If you want it to be calm, more muted, soothing colors. If you want a lot of energy, say, in your writing area or your desk area, brighter, more energetic colors. And then also bring plants into the area for more life energy. You can do all different kinds of things, but those are just some tips for making it a little bit more cozy for you and yours. And then the important thing is to use it. It's not just a static thing. Here's a couple of things that I thought I'd offer as my favorite ways to turn one of these corners into your own haven of slow season comfort. Each one of these is really simple. I think they're really approachable. And I love the idea of doing these kinds of things for yourself as just small, mindful practices. The first is hand painting your tea mugs. Grab some plain mugs and some ceramic paint pens, and then take some time to create a small design or a word that brings you joy. You can get plain white mugs from the dollar store and paint pens, and then decorate however works for you. Every time you use it, it reminds you that you're having it in your area, and your joy can come from these small things. And they make good gifts too. The second is making your own mini herb garden on a windowsill. I have a window in my kitchen that I often do this with. Excuse me. Even in the winter, you can nurture more living things indoors. Plant rosemary or thyme or small succulents. Use those teacups that maybe you don't use. Maybe they're pushed in the back of the cabinet. or mason jars. It could give you like a little vintage feel or more of a cozy, or maybe you want something that's matching, whatever works for you. And then when you care for them, it can feel meditative. It's sometimes a chore to take care of another thing in your life, but that's small enough that hopefully it's something that brings you joy instead of one more to-do on your list. The third thing is learning to knit or crochet and maybe making your own throws or blankets. I admit it, I get nervous about messing up on these, but each of these stitches, whether perfect or imperfect, is an idea of creating comfort for yourself or someone you love. There are tons of YouTube videos on how to get started. I took a class with my really good friend, and when I first learned to knit, and it's funny because I guess I learned backwards. I learned the European way. That was just how we were taught. And I just learned to crochet, which turns out to be like 1,000 times easier. I didn't know. But the important thing is the trying. And if you're making something for someone else, you're creating something tangible that shows them how much you care about them. You can also use scented sachets or pillow sprays in your corner to make it feel more you. I've talked before about using dried lavender or rosemary or rose, and you just create tiny little sachets to put into your pillows or your drawers or your closets to make them smell better. You could also fill a small spray bottle with 2 or 3 tablespoons of witch hazel or alcohol, and then put in 50 or 60 drops of your favorite essential oil, and spray that around your cozy chair or your pillow. These make great gifts too. The whole thing about scent, it anchors calm and memory, and then every time you smell this, it'll bring you back to your cozy area. One of the other things that I like to do is always make sure that I have just a little treat, like a little treat, a little snack. Often I'll have popcorn. I also enjoy, oh my gosh, my treat this season is my favorite thing in the whole world. It's maple fudge or maple syrup candy. I love that. Just one little piece of that, something like that. Whatever your little treat is. And I'll put a recipe for a special shortbread that I make in the newsletter for this week. But get whatever your treat is, whatever's perfect for you. And make sure you remember to put that on your list. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just one little indulgence, something that you can have that makes you feel good. And it doesn't have to be food. It could be a special tea, whatever you want. But it's nice to have one little tiny thing. You could journal about things that make you cozy too, and that could help you create it. You have to describe it before you can see it in reality, right? What colors call to you? What textures and scents call to you? Things like that. And then maybe pick one handmade ritual that you can incorporate into your space and really start to create it for yourself. Thanks for hanging out today. I love the idea of cozy corners because it reminds us that slowing down isn't about doing nothing. It's about creating something for yourself, intentional and present. Whatever you choose to do with your space, I love this idea, and I want to remind us that this corner, this warmth and comfort and joy can be made by our own hands, and we can claim that anytime we want. I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks again for listening today. Make sure to follow the show on iTunes, Spotify, or your favourite listening platform. To submit a story idea or send a comment, visit Jen at www.jennifer-chambers.com/website. Please rate and review to help out the show.
Our stories are brilliant.